I recorded an episode after Thursday Night Football, after Chicago beat Washington, and during that episode, I talked about a potential Chase Claypool trade. I mentioned how I'd love to see Chase Claypool playing for Kansas City. I thought it would have filled a need for Kansas City, who needs a receiver. I thought Chase Claypool, a guy who struggled with attitude and effort. You go to Kansas City, you play with Patrick Mahomes. Hey, if you can't figure out how to have a good attitude about that, it's clearly a you problem. Now, I believe I threw out the name Miami as well. I was like, there's a couple other spots. Miami was one. I think that I might have only said Miami and Kansas City, but it was heavily on Kansas City. I think I threw out the name Miami. Either way, 5 hours later, that's exactly what happened. The Bears traded wide receiver Chase Claypool, not to Kansas City, but to Miami to play for the Dolphins. And Miami is getting wide receiver Chase Claypool and a 2025 seventh round pick. Chicago got in return a 2025 sixth round pick. And I got some stuff I want to read about this because in Chicago, the brief time he spent there, he had 18 catches, 191 yards, and 1 touchdown. And that is a player that the Bears traded a second round pick that became the 32nd overall pick because remember the Dolphins had to forfeit a first round pick last year. So it's pretty insane that a player that, the Chicago traded basically a first round pick for in Chase Claypool ended up doing basically nothing for them. 18 catches, 191 yards, 1 touchdown. Now has been traded to Miami for nothing. So that's a huge loss and a missed opportunity for Chicago. And I will say that the problem with Chase Claypool has always been attitude and effort. He's always had a problem. At least his time in Chicago, I thought he could have had a better attitude and given better effort in Pittsburgh as well. There was a problem there. Then in Chicago, it's like he just didn't want to be there. And maybe he didn't, but he complained about stuff. He gave horrible effort when he was blocking. And it's a shame because Chase Claypool is a really talented player who I thought was going to help Chicago. Chicago's got a young quarterback, Justin Fields, who definitely could use a good receiver. We've seen DJ Moore step up in the last 2 games, but I thought Chase Claypool was going to be a big part of the success story in Chicago. He failed miserably, or he chose not to succeed there is kind of what I'm really feeling like, is he just didn't want to be there, put a horrible effort out. He's a talented player, 6'4". Now he's going to Miami. Miami is a team that, frankly, it's the best offense in the NFL. They've got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, a great quarterback, a great head coach, a lot of other weapons at receiver as well. Now they added another weapon. Like, kind of the only thing Miami didn't really have is a 6'4" receiver who can go up and get jump balls. I mean, it's pretty crazy. If Chase Claypool can reach his potential as a receiver, this is going to be a monumental move for Miami to get another really good receiver on what's already the best offense in the NFL. The rich got richer, I think, here. And Chase Claypool, if you cannot be happy to go to work in Miami, playing with Tua, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and a great facility in Miami with a great coach, Mike McDaniel, and a really fun offensive system, if for some reason Chase Claypool isn't happy in Miami, we have serious concerns. We got to get him help because it's not a situation thing anymore. I understand not liking Pittsburgh, having Mitchell Trubisky, then Kenny Pickett throwing you the ball, and a rough offense. Sure. A cold weather city even, sure, like whatever excuse you want to come up with. Even Chicago, the offense isn't working. You got Justin Fields, who wasn't playing great. You don't like the city, sure. Now there's no excuse for you to not enjoy playing football. You're in Miami, great system, great coach, great players all around you. It's the last opportunity, frankly, for Chase Claypool to really prove himself and become a high-level player. And other than Kansas City, this is the best situation he could have possibly gone to. Maybe it's actually even better than Kansas City because he's going to have so much help around him. Veteran receivers he can lean on, a coaching staff who's really good at getting to know their players and not only like putting them in a position to succeed when it comes to schematics, but also Mike McDaniel. I would love to be in that meeting when he meets Chase Claypool for the first time. I don't know how he's going to approach it. I really wonder, like, does he sit down and say, hey, Chase, sit down. Dude, I love you, man. What's been going on? Like, what does he ask him a question? Why do you feel like you haven't been successful? Does he say, hey, my concern is attitude and effort? Does Mike McDaniel just say that outright and say, I'd love to see a great attitude and a great effort from you because we think you're a great football player? Does he acknowledge it at all? I don't know. That's a great question, is what does Mike McDaniel's first conversation with Chase Claypool look like in the building? And not on the phone, just like, glad to have you. I mean, when he really gets there and they sit down and go, how can we help you succeed? I wonder what Mike McDaniel's going to say. I really, really wonder. I would probably go about it and say, look, why do you think you haven't been successful? Hear what he has to say. Then acknowledge, here's what I think's been going on. I look at a player who's really talented, who didn't like his situation, and maybe could have given better attitude, or given better effort and had a better attitude. We want to see you here in Miami have a great attitude, give high-level effort, and if you do that, we think you're going to be a really good player. Sell him on that idea. But certainly, man, there's a lot of potential for this move to be a great move for Miami, getting a weapon at receiver who's got potential, which, if realized, could be terrifying. And, man, when you look around the NFL, basically the only team you couldn't allow Chase Claypool to go was Miami. I thought Kansas City was going to make a move and go get him. It's kind of surprising they did not. For only a sixth, seventh round pick? What was it? A seventh round pick to go get... Miami gave up a sixth round pick to go get Chase Claypool. You're telling me Kansas City didn't offer that? I can't believe that, if that's true. And it's surprising to me, disappointing to me. The theme of this show is that the rich are getting richer. And the best offense in the NFL got a new receiver, which could be a really good weapon. And then the best pass rush in the NFL got another pass rusher. The 49ers traded for Randy Gregory. Denver was going to cut him, or that was reported at least. And then at the last minute, the 49ers traded for Randy Gregory. Let's ask that question again. What team in the NFL didn't need a new receiver? Miami. What's like the one team, maybe there's two, I would say Dallas and the 49ers are like the only teams in the NFL that could not use another pass rusher. Oh, guess what just happened? That's exactly what the 49ers just got. The 49ers just got Randy Gregory and a 2024 7th round pick in exchange for Denver getting a 2024 6th round pick. Denver's going to pay Randy Gregory $10 million for the rest of the year. And the 49ers this year just have to pay him the veteran minimum. So in 2020, he signed a 5-year, $70 million deal. He's only got 1 sack this year. Not great. He's played in 3 games, didn't start last week. I played in 4 technically, I guess, but he started 3 games this year before getting benched going into last week against Chicago. Last year, Randy Gregory only played 6 games. He had a 1-game suspension. He also dealt with some injuries. He only had 2 sacks in 6 games last year in Denver. It's a guy they gave a lot of money to, who was really disappointing. 3 sacks in a year and some change. And still, I think that because of the great players the 49ers have on their defensive line around him, I can really imagine Randy Gregory, who was a massive disappointment in Denver. I could see him going to the 49ers and making a big impact and being like, whoa, where did this come from? Because when you're playing with Nick Bosa, Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead, they've got Cleveland Farrell, they've got linebackers Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw off the edge occasionally. When you've got great players around you who are going to dominate one-on-one matchups, it's going to give you better one-on-one matchups. And Randy Gregory is going to be put in position regularly to do a really good job. And I am just, I'm a little bit, scared for other teams because, like I said, basically the last team in the NFL you wanted to see get another pass rusher is the 49ers. They got Randy Gregory, who the best of Randy Gregory is really good. He hasn't been his best in a while. But because of the players around him, he's going to have great matchups. And basically, Denver said, this contract sucks. You're not producing for us. We're going to trade you away. Get rid of your contract. Next year, it's the 49ers' problem. But the 49ers are hoping Randy Gregory can come in and make them even better up front from the beginning. And I love what the 49ers are doing, which is taking advantage of paying their quarterback, Brock Purdy, next to nothing. Less than $1 million a year. And little note here, this weekend the 49ers play the Dallas Cowboys, which is the team Randy Gregory was drafted to. He was drafted by the Dallas Cowboys, then he left in 2022 to go to Denver, spent a year and 4 games in Denver, now he's out, now he's on the 49ers, and in his first game with the 49ers, he's going to play his old team, the Dallas Cowboys. Woo! Again, I think the rich got richer. These are 2 moves with 2 players who went to different circumstances on teams that fit them better. I think Randy Gregory is going to be better in San Francisco than he was in Denver, and I believe Chase Claypool is going to be a much more productive player with a better attitude who is put in a position to do well. in Miami. And really great trades for Miami and the 49ers, giving up a 6th-round pick for players who really could make a big impact if things go well and they reach their potential. So the rich got richer on Friday this week in the NFL.